Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So, after 25 hours of negotiation, you guys may have heard the Senate officially passed the big but ugly bill, the horrific bill that's going to hurt millions of Americans. It passed 51 to 50. Vice President J.D. Vance, which still can't believe I'm even saying that. still cannot believe he is our vice president. He cast the deciding vote, the tie-breaking vote. So 3 Republicans voted against this: Senator Susan Collins of Maine, Rand Paul of Kentucky, Tom Tillis of North Carolina. They all voted with the Democrats against the bill. Susan Collins told reporters the reason she voted against it was, quote, "My vote against this bill stems primarily from the harmful impact it will have on Medicaid, affecting low-income families and rural health care providers like our hospitals and nursing homes." And here's what the public thinks of this bill. So check out, this is CNN reported this, but they reported on several different polls. So take a look at this and how wildly unpopular this bill is.
5 different polls across the screen for you. This is the net favorable rating. The highest rating comes from the Washington Post at minus 19 points. How about Pew, minus 20 points? How about Fox, minus 21? Quinnipiac, minus 26. And KFF takes the cake at minus 29 points. When you have a bill whose net favorable rating ranges from minus 19 points, which is already terrible, all the way to minus 29 points, the bottom line is the American people don't see this as a big, beautiful bill. They see it as a big, bad bill. They hate it, hate it, hate it. They think it's awful, awful, awful.
Doesn't get more clear than that, right? And the thing is, if you go on Twitter and you listen to a lot of the MAGA people over there, they think this is so popular. They think that everybody is on board with this. They're winning. They think Donald Trump just really scored a win, that the Republicans are doing something great for people. They are clueless. They have no clue that the tax on tips expires. They have no idea that it's only temporary, which I'm for. I'm totally fine with no tax on tips. But they didn't make it permanent, people. And I mentioned that months ago. So here's a few things that were cut, and then I'm going to share some things that were put into the bill, that were included in the bill in the final draft. So they cut an amendment that Florida Republicans, Rick Scott, tried to insert. Of course, always a Florida man. They blocked a significant portion, or his amendment was going to block a significant portion of the federal Medicaid funding for some states through Obamacare. Now, of course, like I said, always Florida that does the worst for people. But that would have cut even more health care, even more people than the millions who are already going to lose it would have lost health care. The final draft in the Senate also cut the House version that included language preventing non-citizens from receiving benefits. This one's a touchy subject. I have to tell you, I'm so torn on this, because on one hand, if you have non-citizens and they get sick, what ends up happening? If they don't have benefits, if they don't have Medicaid, or like in the case of California, Medi-Cal, they end up going to an emergency room, and then doctors and hospitals, like, they have a duty to save a person's life, right? But you have states like mine, like California, where we opt to give Medi-Cal, which is Medicaid, it's just what the state calls it. We opt to give that to undocumented immigrants. The problem is we are now in a budget shortfall. And when you have citizens like me, like other people, who are maybe paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars, even thousands of dollars a month for health insurance, and then you have people who are getting free health care, just because they showed up in the country, and you all know how I feel about immigrants. I welcome them. I think that they're a benefit to our country by and large. I think the ones that commit crimes should be removed, but the people who come here just seeking a better life for their kids and for their families, they should get the assist, or they should be allowed to stay. They should have a path to citizenship. But herein lies the problem with allowing moderates to run both parties. Well, I guess they're not running the Republican Party anymore, but they used to be. And the problem is they refuse to give everyone health care. And so then you end up in a situation like California, where you have people, like I said, paying a ton of money for health insurance. And then they're seeing people coming from another country who are getting free health care. And then we're ending up in a budget shortfall, and we can't provide certain services for American citizens. And so that breeds contempt. It leads to people being pissed off and saying, no, America first. So if we don't want people running around saying America first, if we don't want people saying, oh, F the immigrants, then we need to come to grips with this. As a Democratic Party, we need to fix this. Namely, we need to give people health care. Everyone in this country should have health care, just like Israel, the country that we give billions of dollars to every freaking year, and their citizens all have free health care. So if that pisses you off, then this also is going to piss off a lot of people. So I'm just being real with everyone. They also said about this whole thing about what was stripped out of the bill about the language preventing non-citizens from getting benefits. The reason they stripped it out was because the Senate parliamentarian said that it was prohibited based on the Senate rules. So they cut that. That is pissing off MAGA today. It's just, the fury du jour. There was also a provision to tax renewable energy. So that was stripped out of the final draft. And then the worst of the worst, which was, I'm sure you guys have seen that short that I shared on my channel, that they were going to tax the poorest people in the country, people making $30,000 and less and under. They were going to tax them more than 70%. So that was eliminated, luckily. And I have to say, the comments from MAGA have been hilarious. These people, I mean, we know, like, I'm not going to say all people who voted for Trump are not bright, but the hardcore MAGA that are like, oh, yeah, they should cut that, blah, blah, blah. And like, they have no freaking clue that this bill is going to harm them the most. They just can't do math. They just like right over their heads. They're like, oh, yeah, so they were paying nothing and now they're going to pay 75 cents, or, oh, they paid $1. Now they're going to pay $1. What are you talking about? Like, they don't know how to do math. Let me make it really simple for you, MAGA. Get out a calculator, because I don't want to break your brain, but put in $30,000, or actually this would be under. So put in $29,000, hit the times button. That's the X. And then put in 70, I think it was 73, put in 73% equals, that's what they would be paying. Not 75 cents. Or they're like, oh, well, they pay, like $10. So now they're going to pay $10 and, or $17.50. You're not paying tax on the tax. You're paying tax on the income. Like, what is so hard for them to understand? I don't know. Anyway, they're morons. They don't get it. And they're going to get a kick in the ass with this bill. And I can't wait for the midterms. There you go. Anyway, like I said, for everyone who saw that short about the congressman talking about that part of the bill, that was removed. We will see now if the House tries to revive that unbelievably cruel provision and put it back in. But here's some of what was included in the tax bill that the Senate passed. So they extended the 2017 tax cuts, which you guys will recall, over 80% of which went to the highest earners in the country. That is going to add $4 trillion to the debt. They also allowed for the, like I said, temporary tax deduction of no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. So again, it's, you're not just keeping that money. You have to file it, you have to pay for the taxes, and then you file your return, and then you'll presumably get it all back at the end of the year. But it's only temporary. I think it's only good for like 4 years. There are Medicaid requirements that was included. I've talked about this before. So they did increase the age. So anybody, which was worse actually, it was going to be, I think, 50 something and under. Now it's 65 and under. So anybody able-bodied, 65 and under, you have to work 80 hours a month. They made exceptions for people with kids under 14. So this is going to harm single mothers. This is going to harm, a lot of women who wanted to be able to stay home and take care of their household, all the trad wives on the right, because you're not going to get any assistance anymore. Trad wives, you are now going to have to go to work. And here's the thing. I saw conflicting reports. So Forbes said it was 14 years and under, kids under 14. The Daily Beast said that it was kids 10 and under. So I'm not sure which one it is. Either way, it's better than the original iteration, which was 7 years old. But they're all family values. Let's get back to the traditional families, blah, blah, blah. But then, if your husband's not making enough and you guys get any kind of assistance like Medicaid, because you can't afford to pay for healthcare for you and your family and your kids, oh, well, too bad. If you were thinking you were going to stay home and cook and clean and take care of the household and, be able to drive the kids to sports and do all the stuff that moms do, the second job that they typically do when they work, you're going to have a second job now. You are going to have to work 80 hours a month. So there you go. Party of family values. Also included in this bill is $150 billion just for deportations. So that was I believe that was added. I think it was, something obscene like, 400 or 450 billion in total. An additional 150 billion for the military. Because, we always have money to kill people, but we never have money to help people live. So, and then the federal government is going to double the portion of the funds that it distributes for rural hospitals. So that's going to go from 25 billion to 50 billion. That won't take effect right away. This is going to be between 2026 and 2030. Now, Senator Collins said, that is completely insufficient. That is not enough to offset these Medicaid cuts. Democratic Senator Chuck Schumer, stuck his head out of his hole for a minute. He said, this is putting a Band-Aid on an amputation. So, they're cutting from one area and then trying to, make up for it, put some frosting over the jacked up cake, over the part of the cake that fell apart. We're just going to throw extra frosting on there so nobody notices. So overall, the Senate version is going to increase our national debt by 3.3 trillion because they are dropping revenue, all these giveaways to the rich, namely, like I said, the tax cuts. Also, I don't know if you guys heard about this, but they're giving a huge giveaway, massive, massive giveaway to Nepo babies. So they are giving them even more tax breaks. I want to say it's something obscene, like if you inherit more than 30 million, you don't, or yeah, it's like over 30 million, then you have to pay taxes on the estate that you inherit, but anything under that, you don't. So it's like almost hardly anyone is going to end up having to pay an estate tax. So yeah, the uber wealthy, the billionaires just get even richer, leave it to their Nepo kids. And so, yeah, we're increasing the revenue or dropping revenue, excuse me, decreasing revenue in the country by $4.5 trillion with all of these tax cuts. And then we are increasing spending. So, I mean, do the math, right? I mean, when you, I mean, if you're just an average person and you're like, hey, you know what? I'm going to work less, so I'll make less money. And then I'm going to go out and buy a bunch of things and spend more. I'm going to go buy cars and a new house and increase my spending. Gee, I wonder what's going to happen. And then the analysis on this is that 11.8 million Americans are going to become uninsured over the next 10 years so that we can give more money to billionaires because, they don't have enough tax loopholes. Now, surprisingly, this was the biggest shock. Senator Lisa Murkowski voted for this bill. And she said right afterwards, well, I hope the House figures this out. I hope they make changes to it. Seriously? What? So after voting for the bill, Lisa Murkowski goes out. She told reporters, quote, "We do not have a perfect bill by any stretch of the imagination. My hope is that the House is going to look at this and recognize that we're not there." Yeah. And then Murkowski posted this lengthy diatribe, this tweet complaining even further about the bill and how Donald Trump imposed a quote unquote artificial deadline of July 4th. Well, you complied with that artificial deadline. So Senator Rand Paul, who I vehemently disagree with on so many issues, but I have to give him credit because he came out, he slammed Murkowski on his own Twitter feed, and he said that, basically they convinced her to vote for this bill by giving her carve outs, he called it a bailout for her state, which is completely true and is complete and total BS. I get she's trying to take care of her constituents, but she just threw low income Americans throughout the rest of the country under the Trump train. Like, you're a US senator. You're supposed to care about the entire nation. She absolutely had the power to stop this Trump train wreck, and she chose not to. She could have stopped this. She could have said, no, this is an arbitrary deadline. Let's go back to the drawing board. Let's figure this out. Let's change things. No, she's going to leave it on the House. So now the House has the bill. A number of Republicans are vowing to block it. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene called this whole scenario a shit show, but Republicans are blocking it for all the wrong reasons, right? They didn't cut enough. They didn't hurt enough people. And, so-called Christian, quote unquote, Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, he posted a tweet saying, quote, "As POTUS said, it's time to unite and pass the one big beautiful bill. We owe it to the American people. Let's get it done, House GOP." So yeah, in other words, our oligarch donors need a 15th home. They need a 7th yacht. They have to, they have to buy their kid, their 18-year-old, a Lamborghini for their birthday. And they're the ones who fund our campaigns. So, how else are we going to keep doing insider trading? So let's do what's best for us. Yeah. Some Trump voters are taking note, though. Some of them are not happy about this. Again, not always for the right reasons, but on Twitter, one person tagged cray cray Congresswoman Nancy Mace, and they told her, quote, "Vote against it, please, unless they change the lies about no tax on tips, 4-year limit." So it is 4 years. "And get the illegals off of Medicaid. I voted for this, but not to be lied to and deceived by sliding slick shit in a 1,000-page bill they didn't think anyone would actually read." And then another guy responded to a tweet from has-been Kevin Sorbo, and Sorbo was asking, hey, Elon Musk is saying he's going to start a new party. Would anyone support that idea of starting a new party? And this person replied, quote, "Yes, I didn't vote for the Epstein list not to be out. 0 curry politicians being brought to heel. And I damn sure didn't vote to be another country's lapdog. 3 billion plus a year while we cut healthcare to the poor. It's a sad day." So, little racism in there, sprinkle in a little hate, and we're getting to a MAGA cake. Anyway, the majority, though, like I said, they're just too dense. They don't get it. They don't understand that they are the main course at this billionaire feast. So it is what it is. Like I said, I don't think Democrats should fight too hard, because I don't want to see good people hurt, but we're never going to get out of this mess until people really feel it. Until people feel the consequences of their actions, this isn't going to change. Donald Trump will continue to control everything. He will continue to sit in that White House and degrade it, and to violate the law, violate the Constitution. So I don't see any other way, guys. I really don't. People have to feel it. People don't, it's just like kids, right? They don't learn if you follow along behind them, and every time they make a mistake, you clean it up for them. They have to learn from their mistakes. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching and listening. Please like, please share, and subscribe. Please donate if you can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.